Right.
You know, Jake Paul's a kid that's out doing his thing. He's trying to make some money, whatever his deal is.
Yeah, I'll fight you.
You would fight me?
Why not?
Dana White fiercely calls out Jake and Logan Paul for their latest desperate stunt to grab attention after deceiving fans with a scripted fight against a retired boxer. Unsatisfied, they aim to fool the boxing audience once again.
I have the opposite perspective. I feel like ruining my little brother's boxing career would be so bad.
Dana White delivers a harsh reality check, exposing once and for all that Jake and Logan Paul's promotional antics are nothing but a disgrace to the sport.
Listen, he's a young kid out there trying to make some money.
After everything, I can't believe this is the same sport that once gave us legends like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and Sugar Ray Leonard. Now tarnished by two YouTube clowns who have completely run out of ways to scam the audience. Jake announced on Twitter, "The moment you've been waiting for, March 27th, streaming on Max. The biggest jerk since Floyd Mayweather carried Logan for 8 rounds just to cash an easy paycheck."
Something to do with some sort of episodic thing, right? That was my first thought. This is not a fight. This is some sort of episodic or documentary style.
Now, these two brothers, who would sell their own souls for a trending moment, are stepping into the ring, not for legacy, not for competition, but because they've run out of every other ridiculous storyline to exploit. March 27, 2025, live on Max. And for what? To watch two social media grifters slap each other around in a spectacle with all the authenticity of a WWE backstage segment. This isn't a real fight. It's reality TV disguised as boxing, a scripted drama where two millionaire brothers pretend to hate each other just long enough to fool gullible fans into handing over their hard-earned cash. The backlash is brutal and well-deserved. Let's be real. When a true fighter steps into the ring, they're fighting for something bigger than themselves: legacy, honor, greatness. But when Jake and Logan do it, they're fighting for clicks, Prime sales, and their next sponsorship deal.
I'm just gonna tell you the truth, it's not. They're not boxing.
The truth is, this isn't boxing. Let's talk about real boxing families. The Klitschko brothers, Vladimir and Vitaly, never fought because they respected the sport. The Spinks brothers, same story. But the Paul brothers, they'd auction off their own mother if it meant squeezing another dollar out of their fan base. As Chris Mannix said on Twitter, social media ran with this as a fight, smart marketing, as always, by the Pauls. But the truth, it was never officially announced as one. Meanwhile, Dana White is having the time of his life tearing them apart. And let's be honest, when the biggest promoter in combat sports is calling you out as frauds, you've officially crossed the line from cringe to full-blown embarrassment. He's been exposing them for years, calling them nothing more than glorified con artists posing as fighters. And with this latest stunt, he's been proven right once again.
First time I ever met him, I took my son to the first boxing match. I want to say it was Wilder and Fury. And this kid rolls up on me and got like a fucking jacket on with no shirt. And he rolls up to me the first time. I didn't even know who he was. He's being a total fucking wise ass. I'm like, listen, man, I'm fucking trying to get my seat situated here. He's like, okay, you go on and keep being famous or some shit like that. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? My son told me who he was.
Jake Paul also has his own personal grudge with Dana White, but let's be real. Jake walks around acting like he's some kind of boxing prodigy. So let's break down his so-called career. He's 11-1. Sounds impressive, right? Until you realize his opponents have mostly been retired MMA fighters with zero boxing experience, social media influencers, and guys old enough to be collecting retirement checks. And the one time he stepped into the ring with an actual boxer, Tommy Fury, he got humbled so badly that he had to go back to making YouTube vlogs just to distract from the loss. And now, instead of challenging another real boxer, he's fighting his own brother. That's how desperate he is to keep the facade going.
Everybody.
Me?
Yeah, I'll fight you.
You would fight me?
Why not? You're tiny.
I'm taller than you.
You're still tiny. It would suck to be the one that has to deal with, losing, but I wouldn't be the one that would have to deal
I have
with
the
that,
opposite
so.
perspective. I feel like ruining my little brother's boxing career would be so bad.
And then there's Logan Paul, who staged more WWE promos than actual fights. His biggest boxing moments? Getting carried by a 44-year-old Floyd Mayweather, who barely tried, and a so-called match against Dylan Danis that felt more like a WrestleMania warm-up than a real fight. Logan is 29 years old and somehow still riding the wave of pretending to be a boxer while juggling his WWE gimmick. And this fight, it just happens to take place weeks before WrestleMania, where he's already booked to appear. But sure, let's all pretend this is a serious fight and not just a glorified promotional stunt to shove prime hydration down everyone's throats. Here's the sad part, it's still going to do massive numbers. Why? Because people love a disaster. Jake's so-called fight against Mike Tyson pulled over 60 million views, not because anyone believed it was a real competition, but because everyone wanted to see just how ridiculous it would get. Now, two brothers with zero real credibility in the sport are about to turn boxing into a full-blown joke. And like clockwork, people will still tune in just to watch the train wreck unfold.
It's completely different than what him and his brother are doing. You know what I mean? I'm looking for the absolute best in the world. These guys who have trained their whole life, they fight in these smaller shows and then they make it to the UFC, and we've put the best against the best. It's just not what we do. There's a market for what these guys do.
Dana White has been saying it for years. These guys aren't fighters, they're opportunists. They've turned boxing into their personal ATM, carefully handpicking opponents and crafting fake narratives just to trick people into paying for glorified circus acts. And now, with this ridiculous matchup, they've once again proven Dana right. This is what happens when you let YouTubers infiltrate combat sports. It stops being a competition and turns into a meme.
If I wanted to do a UFC fight, is that something you'd entertain?
Who would you want to fight?
I don't know.
You have wrestling and boxing.
I could get it done.
Do you ever do jiu-jitsu?
Of course.
Yeah.
I could get it done, Dana.
I'm not saying no.
Dana, sign me.
I'm not saying.
And let's not forget one of Dana White's greatest mic drop moments, when he publicly humiliated Jake Paul by offering him a real UFC fight against Amanda Nunes. That was Dana's way of saying, asterisk, if you're really about that fight life, step into the cage against someone who actually knows what they're doing, asterisk. And what did Jake do? Nothing. He never responded, because deep down, he knows the truth. He's not here for real fights. He's here to cherry-pick opponents, control the narrative, and make sure every fight is scripted in his favor. For years, Jake and Logan have whined about UFC fighter pay, taking shots at Dana White and claiming that MMA fighters only get 20% of total revenue, while NBA players get 45%. Oh, how noble, acting like they're champions for the underpaid warriors of combat sports. Meanwhile, they're out here raking in more money than every single UFC fighter combined, just by setting up staged celebrity boxing matches against hand-picked opponents.
In the NBA, they're guaranteed a
They
certain
still get
amount of
paid.
money.
Yeah,
They
what
still
the
get paid.
fuck?
In the UFC, there's no guarantee you have to go in there and fight to get paid.
Oh my god.
And you take
It's-
all the risk.
It's
And-
ruthless, dude. It's
Let's cut through the nonsense. Jake and Logan Paul don't care about fighter pay. They care about their own pay. Every time they open their mouths about UFC fighters deserving better contracts, it's not about standing up for anyone else. It's just about taking cheap shots at Dana White to keep their names in the headlines. The irony. These two are doing exactly what they criticized Dana for. They're not in this for competition or to test themselves against the best. They're here to milk the system, cherry-pick their fights, and cash in on a fan base too blinded by the hype to see through the scam. Dana White has torched them for it, and rightfully so. Every time Jake cries about fighter pay, Dana just laughs. Why? Because Jake and Logan are walking proof that you don't need to be a real fighter to make millions. You just need to be a shameless, money-hungry showman. They've done nothing in combat sports, yet somehow millions still fall for their gimmicks. It's pathetic.
Would have Logan versus Jake. No venue, no anything, right? There's no announcement of an actual fight. On top of that,
Get ready for the most scripted trash talk you've ever seen. Childhood grudges will suddenly be dragged up, personal insults will fly, and they'll sell it so well that even the skeptics might start to think they really do hate each other. But trust me, they don't. The second the fight ends, they'll be backstage together, laughing it up and counting their millions while their fans argue over who really won. Now, let's talk about the fight, if you can even call it that. This won't be a real, technical boxing match. It'll be a carefully choreographed spectacle designed for entertainment, not competition. These guys aren't stepping into the ring to prove who the better fighter is. They're stepping in to put on a show, sell pay-per-views, and remind the world that they are, first and foremost, entertainers, not athletes. And the saddest part, it's working. People will watch, not because they respect Jake and Logan as fighters, but because they can't look away from the disaster. They'll tune in just to see how bad it gets, just to see if this fight is the final nail in boxing's credibility. When it's all over, and Jake and Logan are standing there shaking hands, splitting their 9-figure payday, Dana White will be sitting back, shaking his head, knowing once again he was right. The biggest joke in boxing isn't Jake versus Logan Paul. It's the fact that people are still falling for it. If you're tired of these frauds ruining boxing, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment. Let's expose this circus for what it really is.